The Stellar Confederation's Grand Reception Hall buzzed with nervous energy as humanity's first diplomatic delegation stepped through its crystalline doors. Ambassador Sarah Chen fought to keep her expression neutral, though her heart raced beneath her formal attire. The hall's vaulted ceiling, seemingly crafted from living light, stretched far above them, while representatives of a dozen alien species watched their entrance with varying degrees of curiosity and disdain. Admiral James Torres walked beside her, his weathered face betraying none of the tension Chen knew he must be feeling. The weight of Earth's future rested on their shoulders, humanity's first official contact with the galaxy's ruling power structure. "Welcome, Earth delegation," announced High Chancellor Vexthor, a towering figure whose iridescent scales shifted colors as they spoke. "We have reviewed your preliminary data packet. Your achievement of faster-than-light travel is noteworthy, if somewhat crude in execution." Chen bowed slightly, following the diplomatic protocol they'd studied. "The United Earth Government thanks you for this audience, High Chancellor. We look forward to sharing knowledge and establishing peaceful relations with the Confederation." A ripple of what could only be described as condescending amusement passed through the assembled aliens. A spindly being with multiple eye stalks stepped forward, introducing itself as Science Director Xylak. "We analyzed your technological capabilities. Your reliance on nuclear fusion and ballistic weaponry is quite quaint. Most species abandon such primitive approaches within their first millennium of space travel." Admiral Torres stiffened beside her, but Chen placed a subtle hand on his arm. They'd expected this. Centuries of science fiction had prepared humanity for the possibility that their technology would seem primitive to advanced alien civilizations. What mattered was getting a foot in the door. "We value our traditions," Chen replied diplomatically, "but we're eager to learn. Humanity has always been adaptable." "Indeed," Vexthor rumbled. "Your species has shown remarkable progress for its age. However, the Confederation maintains strict protocols regarding the sharing of advanced technology. You understand, of course. For the safety of all." Before Chen could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the reception hall. Holographic displays materialized, showing a sector of space near the Confederation's outer territories. Multiple signals were disappearing from the map. "High Chancellor," a frantic aide burst into the hall. "We've lost contact with the Nexus 7 outpost. All ships in the sector have gone dark. The void screens, they just failed." Chen watched as the composed superiority of the alien delegates crumbled into confusion and fear. Void screens, their supposedly impenetrable defense technology, had failed. She exchanged a quick glance with Torres, who had already pulled up data on his secure tablet. "If I may," Torres spoke for the first time, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Those energy signatures, they're consistent with theoretical work we've done on phase-shifted matter. We've never successfully weaponized it, but we've studied the concept extensively." Xylak's eye stalks swiveled toward him. "Impossible. Phase-shift technology is purely theoretical. The energy requirements alone would be massive," Torres finished, "unless you found a way to harvest zero-point energy from subspace itself, which, based on these readings, is exactly what they're doing." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Chen stepped forward. "High Chancellor, while our technology may seem primitive to you, humanity has centuries of experience dealing with asymmetric warfare. Fighting against superior forces has taught us to think creatively, to find unexpected solutions. Perhaps we could offer our expertise in this matter." Vexthor studied them for a long moment, their scales shifting to a deep blue of contemplation. Around them, more alerts were sounding as additional outposts went dark. "Speak, Admiral Torres," the High Chancellor finally said. "What do you propose?" Torres activated his tablet's holographic display, showing a tactical analysis he'd already begun composing. "These attacks follow a pattern we've seen in naval warfare. They're testing defenses, probing for weaknesses. But they're not just attacking targets. They're deliberately leaving gaps in their pattern. They want you to fall back, to consolidate your forces, To what end? Xylac demanded. To make you predictable, Torres explained. They're hurting you, forcing you to respond exactly as they expect. But what if we didn't? What if we used your advanced technology in ways they wouldn't anticipate? Chen watched as the alien delegates leaned in, their earlier condescension forgotten in the face of this crisis. She allowed herself a small smile. This wasn't how they'd planned to prove humanity's worth to the Confederation, but sometimes the best opportunities arose from the worst circumstances. We have much to teach each other, she said quietly, if you're willing to learn. The High Chancellor's scales shifted to a brilliant gold, a color they would later learn indicated decisive action. Very well, Earth delegation. Show us how humanity fights when the odds are against them. The Confederation formally requests your assistance in this matter. As Torres began outlining his initial strategy, Shen reflected on the irony of the situation. They'd come seeking to learn from advanced aliens, only to find that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology at all. It was their endless capacity to adapt, to think differently, to find solutions where others saw only problems. The real test was just beginning. Admiral Torres stood in the command center of the Confederation flagship Eternal Dawn, studying the holographic display of their targeted sector. The massive vessel dwarfed anything humanity had built, yet for all its advanced technology, it hadn't prevented the loss of 3 more outposts in the past week. Your plan is unconventional, Fleet Commander Ixel said, their crystalline form refracting light as they moved. The Confederation has never employed such tactics. That's exactly why they'll work, Torres replied, manipulating the hologram to highlight specific points in space. Your enemy expects you to respond with overwhelming force, to rely on your superior technology. We're going to do the opposite. The joint fleet they'd assembled was unlike anything the Confederation had deployed before. Alongside their massive capital ships, they'd integrated smaller, more maneuverable vessels based on human designs. The aliens had been skeptical at first, but Ambassador Chen's diplomatic skills had won them enough trust to try this new approach. The key is understanding their pattern, Torres continued. They're using phase-shifted weapons to bypass your void screens, but the energy signature just before they attack. It's like a submarine's cavitation noise. They can't hide it completely. Commander Ixel's crystalline structure pulsed with curiosity. Submarine. Ah yes, your aquatic warfare vessels. An interesting analogy. But how does this help us? Torres smiled. Because while they're focused on your big ships, our smaller vessels can detect those energy signatures and respond before they'd fully materialize. We don't need to overpower their weapons. We just need to disrupt their phase shift at the right moment. Back on Earth, Sarah Chen was coordinating with the United Earth Government Science Division. She'd assembled a team of Earth's best physicists and engineers, working around the clock to integrate human insights with Confederation technology. Her hologram appeared in the command center. Admiral, we've finished modifying the pulse beacons. They're ready for deployment. Torres nodded. Good. Now we wait for them to take the bait. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, their sensors detected the familiar energy signatures approaching one of the remaining outposts in the sector. But this time, they were ready. All ships, execute Operation Thunderclap, Torres commanded. The Confederation fleet performed exactly as the enemy expected, moving to form a defensive perimeter around the outpost. But scattered throughout the sector, hidden in the debris of destroyed stations and asteroid fields, the smaller human-designed vessels waited silently. The enemy ships began to phase shift, their forms becoming ghostly as they prepared to bypass the Confederation's defenses. That's when Torres gave the signal. Dozens of pulse beacons activated simultaneously, creating a web of quantum-entangled energy throughout the sector. The enemy ships, caught in mid-phase shift, found themselves trapped between dimensions. Their advanced technology, designed to bypass conventional defenses, became their weakness. Now, Torres ordered. The Confederation fleet opened fire with modified weapons, their energy beams calibrated to the specific frequency Chen's team had calculated. The results were devastating. Unable to complete their phase shift and stripped of their primary advantage, the enemy ships were vulnerable. 3 were destroyed outright, while 2 more suffered critical damage before managing to escape. The command center erupted in a chorus of alien expressions of triumph. Commander Ixel's crystalline form blazed with brilliant light. Remarkable. You turned their own strategy against them. This is just the beginning, Torres said, already studying the data from the engagement. They'll adapt their tactics now that they know what we can do. We need to be ready. Chen's hologram smiled. That's what humans do best, Admiral. We adapt faster. Later, in a secure conference room, Torres and Chen met with the Confederation's high command. The aliens' earlier condescension had been replaced by genuine respect. Your species continues to surprise us, High Chancellor Vex Thor admitted. We focused so much on advancing our technology that we forgot the importance of tactical innovation. Perhaps there is more we can learn from Earth than we first assumed. We're still learning ourselves, Chen replied diplomatically. But if we combine human creativity with Confederation technology, I believe we can face any threat. As if to underscore her words, new alerts began flashing across the tactical displays. The enemy was on the move again, but this time in greater numbers. Their victory had drawn attention, and retaliation was coming. Torres studied the incoming data with grim determination. They'd won their first real battle, proving humanity's worth to the Confederation. But the war was far from over, and their mysterious enemy was about to show them just how dangerous they could be. The real test of human ingenuity. And the newfound alliance between Earth and the Confederation was about to begin. A damaged enemy vessel drifted in space, its phase shift systems disabled by the joint Human Confederation fleet's latest operation. Ambassador Chen watched through the boarding shuttle's viewport as they approached, her heart racing. After weeks of battles, they finally had a chance to learn who they were fighting. Admiral Torres led the boarding team personally, a mix of human special forces and Confederation warriors. Chen had insisted on joining them. As humanity's diplomatic representative, she needed to see this firsthand. Energy readings are stable, reported Lieutenant Maya Santos, their technical specialist. No signs of self-destruct mechanisms, but stay alert. We've learned not to underestimate them. The boarding party cut through the ship's hull, entering a corridor that seemed to bend reality itself. The interior architecture defied conventional physics, spaces folding in on themselves in impossible ways. Remarkable, breathed Science Director Zilak, who had joined the mission despite safety concerns. This vessel's design. It's as if they've mastered spatial manipulation at a fundamental level. Torres held up his hand, signaling the team to stop. Ahead, they could hear something. A rhythmic humming that seemed to resonate with their very bones. They found the bridge, or what passed for one, in a chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. And there, they discovered the truth about their enemy. The beings they encountered weren't organic, at least not in any conventional sense. They appeared to be composed of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid light. But what shocked Chen most was their reaction when they saw the boarding party. The Forbidden One's return. One of the entities pulsed in a language that somehow translated directly into their minds. The cycle begins anew. Chen stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in despite her shock. We are not who you think we are. I am Ambassador Chen of Earth, representing humanity and our allies in the Stellar Confederation. The entity's form flickered with what might have been surprise. Not them, but you used their methods. The unpredictable strategies. The adaptive thinking. You are like them. Torres moved to Chen's side, weapon ready but not raised. Like who? Who are you fighting against? We are the Guardians, the entity responded, left behind to prevent their return. The ones who nearly destroyed reality itself with their chaos, their endless innovation. The ones we sealed away eons ago. Understanding dawned on Chen's face. You've been attacking the Confederation because our alliance with humanity reminded you of these beings. Because we started using unconventional tactics. Your species thinks as they did. The Guardian pulsed. Your weapons are primitive, but your minds hold the same dangerous potential. We could not allow it to spread. Zelak's eye stalks trembled with excitement. The legends of the reality shapers. We thought they were myths. Stories of beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe through pure thought and will. Not myths, the Guardian corrected. A warning. Their power grew too great, their experiments too dangerous. They nearly unraveled the fabric of space-time itself. We were created to stop them, to preserve reality's stability. And we have done so for millions of years. Torres studied the entity carefully. But you made a mistake. Humanity isn't these reality shapers. We're something new, something different. Yes, we think creatively. We adapt and innovate. But we also understand restraint. We value stability as much as progress. Chen picked up his thread. Look at our alliance with the Confederation. We've combined our innovation with their wisdom and experience. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone, and safer. The Guardian's form pulsed with conflicting energies. Perhaps we have been too rigid in our guardianship. The universe changes. Evolution cannot be prevented, only guided. Multiple entities emerged from the ship's structure, joining the first. Their combined presence made the air itself feel heavy with potential energy. We will watch. They pulsed in unison. We will observe this alliance between the innovative and the stable. If you can prove that progress need not lead to chaos, then you'll stop attacking. Chen asked. We will do more than that. The Guardians responded. We will share knowledge. Not all knowledge. You are not ready. But enough to help you grow safely, to help you understand the forces you have begun to manipulate. As the boarding party returned to their shuttle, Chen's mind raced with the implications. They had turned enemies into potential allies, but more importantly, they had glimpsed a fragment of the universe's true nature and humanity's possible role in it. Well, Torres said as they departed, I think we can say the mission was a success, though not quite in the way we expected. Chen nodded, watching the Guardian vessel repair itself through means they could barely comprehend. We came looking for answers about our enemy, but we found something far more valuable. A glimpse of our potential future. The Confederation would never be the same after this encounter. The Guardians' revelation about the reality shapers had shaken their assumptions about the universe itself, but it had also validated their alliance with humanity. Together, they could forge a path between innovation and stability, progress and safety. The war wasn't over. It had transformed into something far more interesting. A test, not of weapons or technology, but of wisdom. Could humanity help the Confederation evolve without repeating the mistakes of the reality shapers? Could they prove that creativity and stability could coexist? Chen smiled. If any species could walk that line, it was humans. After all, balancing contradictions was something they'd been practicing since they first looked up at the stars and dared to dream of reaching them. The integration center aboard the Confederation's primary research station hummed with activity. 3 months had passed since their encounter with the Guardians, and humanity's influence had spread throughout Confederation space in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Torres watched as Lieutenant Santos demonstrated a new hybrid weapons system to a group of alien engineers. The device combined Confederation energy technology with human targeting algorithms, guided by insights from the Guardian's data cache. The key was understanding that reality isn't as rigid as we thought, Santos explained, her hands moving through the holographic interface. We're not just firing energy beams. We're suggesting to local space-time that it might want to be a little more energetic in specific areas. Ambassador Chen smiled at the bewildered looks on some of the alien faces. Humans had proven remarkably adept at grasping the quasi-mystical concepts the Guardians had shared, perhaps because they'd been imagining impossible things in their science fiction for centuries. Ambassador, High Chancellor Vexthor approached, their scales showing patterns Chen had learned to recognize as excitement. The preliminary tests of the hybrid fleet formations have exceeded all expectations. Your species' tactical doctrines, combined with our technology and the Guardian's insights, it's revolutionary. That's what concerns me, Chen replied quietly. The Guardians warned us about moving too fast, about the dangers of unchecked innovation. Are we being careful enough? Before Vexthor could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The tactical display lit up with multiple signals appearing at the edge of sensor range. Report. Torres barked, moving to the command center with practiced efficiency. Commander Ixel's crystalline form pulsed with urgency. Multiple vessels detected, using technology similar to the Guardians, but different, more aggressive. They're not trying to hide their approach. The tactical display showed over 30 ships, each larger than anything they'd encountered before. Their energy signatures twisted reality around them like knots in spacetime itself. By the eternal stars, Xylac's eye stalks wavered. Could it be? The reality shapers themselves. Incoming transmission, Santos reported. System-wide broadcast. A voice filled the command center, resonating not just through speakers, but through the minds of all present. We have watched. We have waited. Our prison could not hold us forever. Now we return to find our jailers consorting with primitives, sharing our secrets. This cannot stand. Chen stepped forward. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Human Confederation Alliance. We mean you no harm. Perhaps we can. Silence, the voice commanded. We monitored your interactions with our failed creations. The Guardians were meant to preserve our works, not share them with lesser beings. Your species especially, humans, with your chaotic thinking and reckless innovation. You are too much like we once were. Too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. Torres had heard enough. All ships, battle stations, execute formation Delta 7. Remember your training. The hybrid fleet moved with practiced precision. Human-designed vessels took up flanking positions around larger Confederation ships, their movements unpredictable yet coordinated. The newer ships, built with Guardian-inspired technology, shifted partially out of phase with reality. They're powering weapons, Santos reported. Energy signatures are off the charts. They're trying to unravel local space-time. Countermeasures active, Commander Ixel announced. Reality anchors holding. The reality shapers struck first, their attacks warping space itself. But the hybrid fleet was ready. Months of preparation, of combining human intuition with Confederation technology and Guardian wisdom, paid off. Where the reality shapers tried to unmake space, reality anchors reinforced it. When they attempted to predict fleet movements, they found themselves confused by human-inspired random walk patterns. Each attack was met with a defense that shouldn't have been possible for such primitive beings. They're falling back, Santos reported after an hour of intense combat. Their reality manipulation attempts are weakening. The voice returned, this time tinged with something approaching respect. Impossible. You've learned to stabilize space-time itself, to channel chaos without losing control. How? Chen stepped forward again. Because we learned from both sides. The Guardians taught us the importance of stability, while humanity showed the Confederation that controlled innovation isn't just possible, it's necessary. We're not trying to master reality. We're learning to work with it. There was a long pause. The reality shaper ships hung in space, their very presence causing reality to shiver. Perhaps, the voice finally said, we have something to learn as well. We who thought ourselves masters of reality, taught a lesson by those we considered primitive. This bears further study. As the reality shaper fleet retreated, not in defeat but in contemplation, Chen turned to Torres. They'll be back. Torres nodded. But next time, maybe as teachers instead of conquerors. They saw what we achieved here, a balance between innovation and stability, between human chaos and Confederation order. The command center buzzed with activity as damage reports came in and repair crews got to work. But there was a new energy in the air, a sense of achievement that went beyond military victory. They had faced the legendary reality shapers themselves and held their own. More importantly, they had demonstrated a new way forward, one that balanced progress with prudence, innovation with stability. The Human Confederation Alliance had proven itself not just to the Guardians, but to their creators as well. The path ahead would be challenging, but they would walk it together, teaching and learning, growing and stabilizing, reaching for the stars without unraveling the fabric of reality itself. 1 year after their first encounter with the reality shapers, the Grand Council chamber of the Human Confederation Alliance was alive with anticipation. Ambassador Chen stood at the center of the chamber, Earth's blue marble floating in a holographic display behind her as she addressed representatives from across known space. "Today marks not just the anniversary of our victory," she began, "but of a fundamental shift in how we view our place in the universe. When humanity first reached the stars, we were dismissed as primitives. Now, we stand as proof that progress doesn't require perfection. It requires balance." Admiral Torres, now fleet commander of the Alliance's combined forces, watched from his position near the chamber's edge. The past year had brought changes none of them could have imagined. The reality shapers had returned, not as conquerors, but as cautious mentors. The Guardians had evolved from jailers to teachers, and humanity had helped the Confederation rediscover something they'd lost centuries ago: the joy of exploration. High Chancellor Vex Thor stepped forward, their scales shimmering with patterns that represented unity and growth. The Alliance Council recognizes the reality shaper delegation. 3 beings of pure energy materialized in the chamber, their forms more controlled than during their first appearance. The lead entity, who had introduced itself as the architect, addressed the assembly. "We came to this realm believing we would find chaos that needed to be contained." The architect's thoughts resonated through the chamber. "Instead, we found something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of innovation and stability. Humanity's creative chaos, tempered by Confederation wisdom, guided by Guardian knowledge." Lieutenant Santos, recently promoted to Chief of Hybrid Technologies, activated a display showing their latest breakthrough, a small device that could safely manipulate local spacetime, combining reality shaper principles with human intuition and Confederation precision. "This is just the beginning," Santos explained. "By understanding the boundaries of reality, we can work within them rather than trying to break them. It's like learning to swim with the current instead of against it." The architect's form pulsed with approval. "You understand. It took us millennia of mistakes to learn what your alliance grasped in months. The universe is not a thing to be conquered, but a partner to be understood." Dr. Zilak, whose research had been crucial in adapting reality shaper insights to Alliance technology, extended several eye stalks in excitement. "And with this understanding, we opened up entirely new avenues of exploration, ways to study the universe without risking its fabric." Commander Ixel's crystalline form sparkled as they added, "Our latest deep space probes, designed with human creativity and Confederation engineering, are discovering phenomena we never imagined existed. And thanks to Guardian protocols, we can study them safely." Chen smiled, remembering how far they'd come from those first tense meetings where the Confederation had dismissed human technology as primitive. "We're not just exploring space anymore," she said. "We're learning to dance with reality itself, and we're doing it together." The architect's form shifted, creating a display that showed the known universe from a perspective few had ever seen. The space between spaces, where reality itself took form. "Which is why we have come to a decision. The reality shapers will end our self-imposed exile. We will join your alliance, not as rulers or teachers, but as equals. There is much we can still learn from each other." The chamber erupted in excitement. The implications were staggering. With reality shaper knowledge properly integrated into the Alliance's balanced approach, the possibilities for exploration and discovery were endless. Torres moved to Chen's side as the chamber buzzed with discussion. Did you ever imagine, when we first stepped into that reception hall, that we'd end up here? Chen shook her head, watching as human scientists chatted excitedly with Confederation engineers, Guardian observers, and reality shaper entities. I hoped we'd prove humanity's worth to the galaxy. I never dreamed we'd help reshape how the galaxy itself thinks. Reshape, Torres chuckled. Careful with that word. The reality shapers might get nervous. Their laughter was interrupted by a priority alert. A new signal had been detected at the edge of known space, something that didn't match any known pattern or technology. The chamber fell silent as the data streamed in. Then Santos grinned. Well, looks like the universe is ready to test our new partnership. Who's up for some exploration? Chen looked around the chamber, seeing not different species and civilizations, but a unified force ready to face the unknown. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by dominating or submitting, but by showing there was another way. A way that took the best of all worlds and forged something new. Together, she said, and the word was echoed in a dozen different languages and forms of communication. As the Alliance prepared to face this new mystery, Chen reflected that this was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not their technology or their tactics, but their ability to see possibilities where others saw only problems. To find hope in the face of overwhelming odds. To turn enemies into allies and challenges into opportunities. The stars beckoned, filled with endless mysteries and possibilities. But now they would face them, not as separate races struggling for dominance, but as a unified force combining the best of all their cultures and capabilities. The new dawn had arrived, and its light shone on a galaxy forever changed by humanity's unique gift for bringing people together and finding new ways forward. The adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.